This is a series where we get you ready for the World Cup by previewing one team at a time. And today we're talking about one of the tournament's dark horses, one of the teams I think can win, the Netherlands. First off, welcome back. Thank you so much for making the World Cup. The Netherlands, of course, failed to qualify for the 2018 edition of this tournament, but before that, they'd made 6 of the previous 7 and have been in a golden generation that didn't seem to end. We start with how the Netherlands made this tournament, and they started that process very nervously. They went to Turkey and lost 4-2 to start their qualifying campaign. Fortunately for the Netherlands, that was the only loss of their entire qualifying campaign. They were in a group of 6, and you only automatically qualify by winning the group. With Turkey and Norway, that wasn't an easy task. With the loss to Turkey, it got even harder. But they were able to turn things around. Eventually. Their first matchup against Norway was also away, and it was a draw, so they dropped points there as well. But once Louis Van Gaal got settled as the head coach of the national team, things kicked into gear. The Netherlands blew out Turkey 6-1 in Amsterdam and had to battle all the way to the end of qualifying to see things through. They didn't drop points again until a draw away to Montenegro in the second to last match, which meant they had to beat Norway in order to guarantee automatic qualification to the World Cup. If they lost, they could not be going again. Now, that hadn't happened since the 80s, and it wasn't going to happen again because the Netherlands did find a couple of goals playing at home in Rotterdam. They were late, 86th and 91st minute from Bergwijn and Memphis Depay, but they were there, and Erling Haaland, who wasn't there, he wasn't able to play for Norway, so bye, bud. Him and his fellow Vikings were eliminated from the World Cup before it started. But now that the Netherlands is on the dance floor, they are one of the most consistently dangerous teams at World Cups that you could possibly have. And this is a crazy stat I'm about to drop on you. This is like a stat bomb. The Netherlands has never been eliminated in the World Cup group stage, ever. It's never happened. And honestly, considering their pot 1 team is Qatar in this group, it's probably not going to happen again. In fact, in 50% of their World Cup appearances, 5 out of their 10 World Cup appearances, the Netherlands has made it to the semifinals, at least. That includes 2 of the last 3 World Cups, and we know where they were at the last World Cup, on the couch. But in 2014 and 2010, they were in the frickin' semifinals. This is a fantastic team, historically, once it gets to the World Cup. But of course, they've never won. You know what the Netherlands has won, though, is the European Championship. They won that in 1988. And like every other European team that will be attending this World Cup, they had a shot to try and replicate that success last summer in what was the 2020 Euros that happened in 2021. This was part of the Netherlands Renaissance. This was before Van Gaal took the helm. De Boer was still the head coach at this time, and he would get fired for what happened in the knockouts. But in the group stage, the Netherlands won all 3 matches, including a tough Ukraine team that was that close to making this World Cup. But De Boer got fired after the Netherlands lost in the round of 16 to Czechia. And that pretty much sums up this Dutch team that's showing up to the World Cup. They can beat anyone. They are hot. They also seem to be able to lose to anyone. Czechia was not particularly good. They're not at this World Cup. They beat the Netherlands by multiple goals. Science. And going into this World Cup, there isn't enough experience on the team to make you feel comfortable that that sort of thing's not going to kick up and happen again. This is a first World Cup for players like Matthijs de Ligt and Virgil Van Dijk. They've never been here before. There's only 3 players outside goalkeepers on this team, likely, that beat Daley Blind, Jorginho Wijnaldum, and my player to watch for the Netherlands, Memphis Depay. Why is he the player to watch? He scored 12 goals in qualifying. There are only 10 matches. When your other forward options are at best like a Steven Bergwijn, you need your best forward to score goals. We know the Netherlands is going to be able to defend. Memphis Depay is absolutely the key player for this tournament. He had a background role in 2014, but he knows the experience, and he has been insanely hot in a Dutch shirt. He scored a pair of goals at the Euros as well. But how are the Dutch actually going to line up for this tournament? I've saved some extra time for this segment because it's particularly interesting. So get ready to nerd out. First, their last major important competitive match, discounting the Nations League because I love the Nations League, but it doesn't fit in the same category. That final World Cup qualifier against Norway that the Netherlands had to win. Louis Van Gaal prepped them in a 4-3-3 formation. De Ligt and Van Dijk in the middle, very strong spine going up towards Frankie de Jong, and then Memphis Depay in front of that. They put him as a center forward flanked by Bergwijn and a host of other players throughout qualifying. This strong 3-man midfield with Wijnaldum, de Jong, and Klaassen is a constant of both of these formations, but I think against teams that the Netherlands feels like it should beat, they will play this formation. But for example, in their most recent Nations League match, we saw a 5-3-2. This allows the Netherlands to use other talented center backs. For example, Man City's Nathan Ake is an option here. Jurrien Timber featured as the right-sided center back in this game. Stefan de Vrij is an option too. De Vrij. It's worth mentioning they won both the matches that we're looking at. The final Nations League match, they beat Belgium, and they actually qualified for the Final Four of the Nations League. They won their group, so yay! If the Netherlands is struggling to score, though, you should expect this 4-3-3 because it gets more creative players on the field, but that is the biggest weakness for the Netherlands. With the final segment, what are their chances to get out of the group, and what are their chances to actually win the whole thing? Well, statistically speaking, historically speaking, the Netherlands is probably going to make the semifinal. And honestly, if they win the group, they get an easy draw, and you can walk them right into the quarterfinal to begin with. So the Netherlands is in a fabulous spot. They're the pot 2 team behind a host nation that's making its debut, which hasn't happened since 1934. They're the only team essentially to have ever been in this position in the modern era, and if the Netherlands wastes it, Van Gaal's getting fired and there will be another inquest, honestly. Senegal's the best team in Africa. Ecuador is sneaky good considering they don't have a lot of name brand value, but the Netherlands has the most talent in this group and honestly should get at least 2 clean sheets. I put the Netherlands' chances to get out of the group at 95%. Serious chaos has to happen for them to miss out. I'm talking losses to Senegal and to Ecuador, which is possible but require a serious defensive meltdown. Given the names that they have defensively, it shouldn't happen. As for their chances to actually win the entire tournament, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and say they're really not going to win the tournament. I would love to assign a percentage value, and they have perhaps the easiest road there, even though it is deceptively difficult, like I mentioned. The Netherlands has just not shown throughout the course of qualifying that they have the ability to consistently beat the teams that they are supposed to beat, which means they could get to the round of 16 and then get bumped, or they could just slip and lose to Senegal, and all of a sudden you're second in the group and things get a lot harder. Don't get me wrong, the Netherlands is a dark horse. They have a chance to win the World Cup. It's just not a high one, and as much as they would probably like to believe it, they are not one of the favorites going into this tournament. The good news is they can beat anybody in the world. You know who can't? The team we previewed first in this series. That would be the pot 1 team in Group A, and that's Qatar. If you missed that video, it's right here. Check it out. Right now.